This is what, where did it go? Who has the sign up clipboard? It's over here, okay. You don't do it. No, you can just go ahead. What I love about pilots is, like, this aisle represents this big hard line, because the sign-up board never makes it from one side to the other. Okay. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I think I'll do this first. We're kind of going a little, this is the first time we've done this. So, you know, when we sat there and were practicing, that first part took an hour. Oops. But what's fun is that it spurs on some conversation and some really good points. So the first thing is, somebody was coming up to me saying, are you going to talk about this is what I refer to as the A word, Android? You know, Android, there are some really great platforms for the Android, and I'm sure there's some people that are very affectionate to it. But as you might have heard, Tyson Ways at Fourth Flight has said we will not be developing anything for the Android platform. The reason is there are like 7 different operating systems for the Android. There are also, I don't know how many different hardware platforms for the Android. So that makes it extremely difficult and cost prohibitive for programmers to be able to program for those different platforms. And that's why. Now, WingX will run on an Android. AvPlan, Bevan's software runs on the Android. Is it more difficult to program for that platform?
Yes. But it gets easier with every Android release.
Good. So, I think Garmin Pilot has an Android version as well. So yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff, but I don't think you're going to get as good a stuff on that platform as this platform for the Apple. And what's really kind of funny is, in my previous life, I did network support and we were all Windows, right? I came over to Apple after I sold my company and I thought, I'm going to get a Mac laptop. I'll love it, but one of the requirements was it had to have the Intel chip because I still had to run some Windows software. So I just use a virtual machine on this and run Windows stuff on that when I need to. So the fact that they control the quality of the hardware and what's going into it matters. That's what's making it really reliable in our cockpits. And the fact that they look at the apps and there are certain standards for the app development is also very important for quality and consistency. So I came over to the dark side, and I'm all Apple now. Yes. So, are there any Apple developers? No. One other thing I wanted to talk about, we covered this in our Fundamentals for Aviation class. I know. This is a great class because, yes, I talk about, well, this is the on-off button, but there's also all kinds of really cool stuff in it. And in that I talk about what platform do you want to get if you're getting an iPad. So I know there's probably only a couple of you in the room where this might matter. But who knows about the iPad Pro now? Okay, have you seen one? I wouldn't stick it in. Oh, I have. Can I see that? Can I have that? No. Really? Are you flying with this?
No.
I was going to say, you know, this is the Pro. This is, man, look how big this is compared to this. This is an Air 2 on the right, the Pro on the left. I wouldn't put this in my cockpit. Well, I might if it were a 737, okay? Or my favorite, a Gulfstream 650. Yeah. So that's the Pro. It's a great, great platform, but not for aviation. What about the Air? Yeah, the Air is fine. It's a little big if you guys are flying Cessnas with yokes. It's a little big, isn't it? Okay, these guys from my Go Flight have mount solutions for you to look at. The Mini, who has Mini? You have a Mini. How do you like the Mini in the cockpit? Great. Did you have the full size 2, 3, or 4 before?
No room, yeah, Mini works fine.
See, so that's cool.
Especially on an e-board.
Yeah.
Both ways.
Yeah, so the Mini is an excellent platform. You're a young fella though. Okay, so your eyes are great, but I just say what I hear, the biggest complaint from pilots that I hear on the Mini is they have to zoom in a little bit more than the other platform. And I don't really care. You know, that one's a great. So what about memory?
What? Get more.
Yeah. Okay. Coming from the computer world, I always consulted my clients, you get as big a hard drive and as much RAM as you can. And it's the same thing here. Minimum is 32 megs. Gigs. Thank you. I forgot. Thank you. 32 gigs. 128 if you can do it. Okay. I have 128 on my Air 2. I'm almost out. Now, yes, I have about 7 different aviation apps with almost all the charts on it. But I also don't have any photos or videos on that thing. You'll start using that thing for email, for web browsing, for shopping, and for taking photos of the grandkids or kids, and videos, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're out of room. You don't want to be there. So as much as you can get. What about cellular data? Okay, my answer there is not even a thought. Yes, you have to get cellular data for your iPad. 2 reasons. GPS chip is included. It is not lost, okay? It's using the cell stuff to triangulate your position. So you don't rely on it up high. But you have a hanger, right? You put hardwired internet access in it, didn't you? No. Do you use your cellular data in your hangar? Yeah. We go out on the field over here, you can't get Wi-Fi, but you still want to get a great briefing? You've got to have the cellular data. The beauty of cellular data plans on the iPad is it's month to month. I don't have mine enabled right now because I'm around Wi-Fi all the time. But when I go to Oshkosh, I get my monthly plan because I know I'm going to need to use it at Oshkosh. Anybody been at Oshkosh and had a great internet experience? Yeah. No. And then you just turn it off. So yes, you get cellular. Yes, you get as much gigabyte of RAM. Yes.
Just tethered to your phone.
True, but how much power does that suck off your phone when you're using it?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So his point is great, and I'll do that here now, right, if I need it. Everybody knows, hear what he said? Use your phone as a hotspot. Very easy to do nowadays, especially with Apple products. Okay? But the problem with that is that I'm going to suck the battery life out of this thing and my iPad. So I don't use it very often. And then, but what you do, you help to solve that problem is the guys over at my Go Flight have a power brick. I forget how many amp hours is that thing?
10,000 milliamps.
Milliamp hours. Unbelievable. So, kind of went off on a tangent, but I wanted to let you guys know, this is the kind of thing that we like to discuss. So if you have any questions about that down the road, I'm around to help. And the next thing is sponsors. I have to walk over on this side for this part. Our first sponsor, again, is AeroView Reports, Brian Heitman. And you're going to see even more of his app. As we've been using it, it is really cool. Now, Brian has spent 20 years as an application developer. His specialty is putting together data centers and website hosting and things like that. So he's a geek, and he's a pilot geek. He's got, he's a commercial pilot, instrument rated, CFI, CFII, and tail wheel endorsed. And as Chuck said, Chuck met him, looked at this thing and said, wow, that's cool. Now, how many before today have heard of AeroView? Nobody. One. How'd you hear? Oh, the IMC Club. I forgot about that. So this is cool. You'll like that. He is offering, not only did he buy donuts and coffee, but he's offering to extend his trial for an extra 30 days. So you get a 60-day trial. If you like what you see, what you'll need to do to take advantage of that is download it, put your username in, and then shoot me an email with your username, and I'll get that over to Brian, and he'll extend that out. Okay? Any questions on that? You're going to really like what you see today. The guys at MyGoFly, I love working with these guys. I will work the booth at Sun and Fun or AirVenture with them quite a bit. Their stuff almost sells itself. And I want to bring up Dominic Martinez from MyGoFly to let him kind of tell you what's going on with them.
Hey, how are you?
Probably don't.
Hi, I'm Nick Martinez. I'm the co-founder and president of MyGoFlight. We live and work here in Denver. We're off of 3rd and Calumet. We'd love to come see you. We've got plenty of cool stuff for you guys to look over, maybe customize them out, maybe make something look real beautiful with some of the paint schemes, that type of stuff that you have on your aircraft. Wanted to thank AeroV, Independence Aviation, of course, Taylor with Crosswinds. These guys are exceptional. We travel all around the country, helping Taylor pass the message of the iPad Takes Flight seminars. We'll also see in 2016, we're going to be doing some special things with Jeppesen. Jeppesen's going to take some of our content that we've been teaching across the nation for the last 5 years, and we're going to put them into webinars. So we're pretty excited about that. We're actually really surprised that they're even talking to us. A huge Jeppesen company. There's 6 of us down at MyGoFlight. But we make iPad cases, flight bags, and accessories for aviators. We'd love for you to use our stuff in your aircraft. We think our systems are thoughtful, and they're very, we believe that they're very well put together. And we're just anxious and excited that we can be here. We can also customize these with your corporate logo, with your tail number, that type of stuff. This is the Crosswinds. This is the PLC Pro 2016. Is that a 16 or a 15?
15.
That's the 15. I knew that was coming. and these are made out of sailcloth. Super durable, very cool, water resistant, that type of thing. And we also came out just with a brand new one. This is the Sport. Many folks were like, oh, this is too big on a Pro. It's too big, so we said, hey, how about just a headset, an iPad, a few things, still look good, very rugged, 3-year warranty on that, and thank you for bringing that. That's a nice looking bag. But thank you very, very much. I'm Nick Martinez. If you need anything, Zach and Josh will be in the back to answer any questions. And thank you very much for your support of aviation, and I think you're going to learn a lot by teaming up with these guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. One thing thing I really liked about them is again, we've been involved. We put on the first iPad Takes Flight seminar in February of 2011. And we've seen their products evolve. And they really listen. So if you've got something that's kind of bugging you about the way this thing works, you tell them. And they kind of go back to the drawing board and they do things differently. And they'll come out with something new. The new clips are an example of what they've come out recently with that enhance the strength of any of their mounting systems. So really cool stuff. And last but not least, I want to let Chuck tell you a little bit more about the great company, Independence Aviation.
Thanks, Taylor. I'm going to keep it brief so I can want to save time at the end so we can actually go into some of these apps and do things. How many of you all know about Independence Aviation here at Centennial? Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. Just real quick, Bob Stebbin and I started that back in 2007. I already mentioned we wanted to do things differently, so we emphasized professional training, safety, teaching people the proper way to fly airplanes and keep them safe. And so we provide everything from private pilot, airline transport pilot, mentoring, pilot services, mountain training, everything you could possibly think of, manage your aircraft. We do have some brochures over here on the side, and pick one of those up if you want more information about us. We've got cards up here with my name up here. About maybe 2 years ago, I decided to give up the chief flight instructor job there, and they call me the chief flight instructor emeritus. So what does that mean? To me, it's the best of all the worlds I could possibly think of, because I love to go around the country, go to seminars, Oshkosh, Sun and Fun, different seminars, learn more stuff. We were speaking earlier, someone and I were talking about we're always learning as pilots, and that's why y'all are here. And so I try to gather stuff, and I go, wow, that's pretty cool. A little nugget I need to take and put in my toolbox and pass it on to everybody else. So the beauty of being an emeritus is I don't have any of the administrative stuff anymore. I get to pick and choose when I want to fly, and get to come and do seminars like this. And so that's my passion, and I love it, and that's why I'm here. So come see us if you got any aviation questions about anything. We can help you there. Okay, so let's move on to our scenario here. And as Taylor and I were talking about this, I came up with this scenario. So we've been working on this since before the new year. So an old friend that I went to pilot training with many years ago, he owns the other Boeing field, invited me to a New Year's Eve blowout sponsored by Boeing. So I figured, who can pass that out? So I plan to go up with one of my clients that I fly with. He's a VFR working on his private pilot rating. And so we wanted to go VFR, be able to stay low enough where we didn't have to use oxygen. And we did decide to take a Cirrus SR-22 turbo with flight engine on icing, just in case some conditions didn't allow a VFR flight. But we're going to talk all the VFR stuff today. So always what I do from a decision-making standpoint, I always have a Southwest backup ticket, and can't miss the party that way, right? Southwest is there. Everybody knows you can book with Southwest. If you don't use it, you bank it, and you can use it again. It doesn't cost anything. It's fantastic. Wish the other carriers would do that. Anybody hear from the other carriers? Okay, so that's our scenario we're going to talk briefly about. And started looking at things about 5 to 6 days out. And before I go, I'll ask you a question during the break. Does anybody know if ForeFlight locks or hooks up with Lockheed Martin to get your briefing, or is it just do ours? Taylor says yes. Either.
If you're signed in with
Taylor.
Well, let me, I forgot to address it. The ForeFlight just came out with this not too long ago. There is, if you go to settings and you scroll down, you'll find something called for-flight briefing. You want to enable that. That one will tie into Lockheed Martin. If you have your DUOTS credentials in there, go ahead and remove those. And that way you know that you're getting the Lockheed Martin briefing. And that also gives you the graphical side of things. So nothing against DUOTS, but they're not giving you the graphical briefing. So that's how you do that.
Next door.
So you don't need your Lockheed Martin specific sign in there?
No, because for-flight will pass it on.
Okay, so this is what we sat down in our planning process and figured out our route of flight heading up to Boeing Field. You can see we go north, stay out of the high terrain, work our way around, and then on up to Boeing Field. This is, this is the AeroBee app. We're going to cover some screenshots from here in just a moment. So again, I'm just looking 5-6 days out, trying to figure out if it's going to work or not, because he needs to know for his businessman, he wants to know if we're going on this trip or not. And I'm going to show you a couple tools that I use. Here's some websites. So up here we've got Telecast. They're still out there, telecast.com. You can go to. How many of you have seen that before? Some pretty great information on there. They used to have an app called Telecast. Can't get it anymore, but they changed to Storm. So Storm gives you a similar product that Telecast had. So I'm going on there and I'm looking at the departure, cities en route, and then the destination, looking at your days out forecast of when I think the weather's going to be. Another website here is Weather Channel. So not an aviation related, but let's check out there and see what they're thinking at my cities along the way. What are they predicting the weather's going to be? This isn't a good sign. Okay. Websites also that I use, we've got the aviationweather.gov. And then one to really drill down really nicely is called digitalweather.gov. That's this guy right here. Does anybody use this? Couple? Okay. What do you think?
I liked it. I used it to look out several days.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a great plan tool on that as well.
Okay. So Doug says they've got a great flight path tool in there also. So this is probably that where you go to the tools and bring down. Can you use it on an iPad though? Flight path tool, I don't think so. You have to be on a computer. I think it takes Java. We're going to cover that in a minute. But yes, this is a really cool thing because what's nice about it, you put in where you want to be and look at that particular section, then you can put everything you could possibly think of with this drop down here. Temperatures, fog, bad weather, clouds, rain, snow. And then you come along here and you start sliding the slider out and you watch all these things change based on what you put in there. And you go, oh my, 31st when I'm supposed to travel, I got some bad weather right between me and there. So now you got to drill down more. That's what we're going to talk about, drilling down more. Okay, on the aviationweather.gov, this is pretty cool, where you put in the zip code of the city, and you get to see, I believe it's 7 or 10 days out, they show you what they think the weather's going to be there. Okay, so that's, again, a nice big picture of what they're thinking. Okay, I mentioned AOPA. We're going to cover a few slides from here because I really like what they've done along the top here. When you're logged in with your credentials, you get to add or subtract and order these the way you want along the top. And so you can just click one tab after another and continue to work your way through your briefing. The other thing that's really nice about this is if you don't understand what this is trying to show you, they got a little link right here. You touch that little plus sign and it drops down and it says, this is what this map is trying to show you. So they give you some explanation there, which is really cool. And that's Jefferson. Yep, thank you. So Jefferson and AOPA hooked up to provide this product. It's really good. I like it. so I'm gonna just go through a couple slides here. Notice you put your, touch your tab, and then you can look ahead in time. And some of them are different in time, what you can get out of it. But you just start touching the tab, you get to see that maybe this weather system was here, now it's moving this way. So we're looking through time on these stamps. Okay? So what a great visual picture of what's going on. Okay? So those are a couple websites. And then there's some apps that I use. Storm, as I mentioned, it used to be telecast.com, or Telecast was the app. Nice part is, I still got it on my iPad, so you can't go to the App Store and get it anymore. But, yeah, throw this out. I was thinking about this during the break. I had an old iPad 2, I believe. And I finally took it to the Apple Store and said, okay, I'm confused, what's going on here? Still got space on the iPad, but every time I touch something, it's like, remember back in the day when we had computers with dial-up modems? Your screen would go, it's like, what? So the gentleman at the Genius Bar explained to me that every time you put new software, a new update on your iPad, that particular iPad, it keeps all the old stuff, it gets bogged down, like a PC computer might. I said, well, that's ridiculous. He said, well, I said, what do I do with it? And I thought about it during the break. Give it to my wife and let her use it as a cutting board. So, fortunately, Taylor upgraded his iPad, and he gave me a sweet deal on his older iPad, so I got to upgrade. So now mine's working a lot better. Anyway, Storm is a pretty cool little app you can get a lot of information. We talked about the Weather Channel. I'll show you this one. How many have heard of Video Earth? Good. I'm going to show you this. It's awesome. I'm going to show you a slide. I'm going to show you at the end. We're going to look at it really quickly. It's just amazing. So what we got here is this slider along the bottom. And I'm looking at, there is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you can come along the side here and turn on what you want to look at. So I have precip on and I have cloud cover with low level clouds on. And then I simply touch this little play button here, and it shows me what the precipitation and clouds are going to do over the next 4 or 5 days. So what a great overview of what can happen there. It's called METEO Earth. METEO Earth. And they charge for it. I don't remember how much it is, but I think it's well worth it. So now, as I'm coming along here and I see, well, gosh, what's going on here? I can actually, there's another app that they tie together from the same company. And if I touch and long press on my map right here, I get to see this pop up. And it's called Weather Pro. So that's another app together. These two hook together. So when you touch Weather Pro, it takes you to this other app. And now you can get a boatload of information regarding the weather there. And you can get all these graphs along the bottom here. Again, at the end, I'm going to show you, run through this real quick with you. But I love it for big picture stuff. As far as what's going on with the weather, I'm planning to go to La Crosse, Wisconsin on Monday, and I'm using this to decide if we can make it or not. Looks like there'll be some weather possibly between us and La Crosse on Monday, or on Tuesday actually, coming home. Okay, let me jump to another one here. Lockheed Martin. So for my scenario, what I did is I went in and I put in my points along my flight plan, and then I got an outlook briefing. So then I also told Lockheed Martin Flight Service stuff that I want to get these email updates. So I'm now 5 days out. You're smiling. I'm 5 days out, and I get the big picture of what they think is going to happen. So I don't remember the number. I stopped counting, but I probably got 25 emails from them over the next few days about, oh, by the way, there's a SIGMET for this, or there's an AirMet for that, or you got to be careful, there's UAVs flying nearby your route on this day. So they're constantly updating pretty neat because when you open the email, you get both the text on the side, you get the graphic explaining where the problem might be. So that's a cool thing. If you go to this website and log in, definitely sign up for the email updates. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned Mike Centenich, who does weather classes for us at Independence Aviation. He's the lead meteorologist over at Jefferson, and he's responsible for this JeffersonJetPlan.com. This is a website that you can go to. And if you want to drill down on weather, this is where you can get some awesome weather. So what Mike has done, he's allowed us to hand out the password here. It's jetplan.com, and then the username is JepWX06. The password is flysafe06. So I'll leave that up just for a second.
Yes, lowercase.
For those taking pictures of the slide, I'll leave it up for you. We can give this to you if you don't remember, or if you lost your notes or something, let us know. But it is just a fantastic website. You can get everything you could possibly want about the weather from there. Okay, back to my ROV. So here we have the, now you notice I went direct here because I'm trying to do these slides as we're going along, and I didn't want to throw my points in, but this will get the idea of what we're going to do. I'm going to drop down an overlay here. And as you push the overlay, you get a drop down menu, and you can put in the things you want to see on your map. And so what do I have here? Surface drug and predictive radar. So how many know a place where you can go look at the radar and see where you think storms are going to be 3 days, 4 days out? Anybody got any they go to? Predictive radar, we call it. So he's coupled this in here. There's a NAM and an HRR model, and I look at both of them to see. Remember when the hurricanes come off the East Coast and they say the models aren't agreed? You go, oh, well, one's going to take it over there, one's going right over to New York City. Which one's true? I don't know. But if they both line up, they're both showing exactly the same thing, then probably got a chance I'm going to run into some weather there. So it's a really nice tool to look ahead.
Excuse me, is that a website or an app? I didn't catch that.
This is an app. It's the ROV
Thank you.
app. And Brian's offered to give us a 60-day free trial on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so another tool that he has here, he's actually got you a profile view that you can put in your route of flight and tell it what time you're leaving and when you're going to get there. Well, you just put it into your flight plan. And you can see as we cruise along here, we got a potential problem here with precip. And you got this freezing level down along the bottom. That's your terrain down here. So really good big picture for a flight that day at that time of what we might do. Okay, another app that you can put on your phone or iPad is right here, Aviation WX. It's an app you can go find. And you see it's up in the center weather service unit. And if you tap on text, Aviation text, and let me get the navigation here. You get the National Weather Service forecast discussion. There's a slide here, there you go, text. This pops up, and then you can put on the places you're going to go, and they will talk about what they're forecasting and whether to be in their particular region. That's a good question. Taylor asked, how many know what a forecast discussion is? Okay, well, it's the meteorologist trying to tell us, Bevan, you know. The meteorologist trying to tell us what they think is going to happen at their little piece of the world. Okay? There's an aviation version, and then there's a general version out there. So back on Aerobee, he's got a tab you can touch and look at the aviation discussion. sure what they're thinking and why they're predicting what they're forecasting the weather to be there. Okay, so this is where we can get with an app, the aviationweather.gov website. It's an app. I did that the other day in practice too, didn't I? Aviationweather.gov forecast discussion, or you can just come up here to the tabs and touch it that way. But you get to the aviation forecast discussion that we just talked about. When you touch that tab, you get over to here. And what I did is I just went along the way and I touched the places I was going to be going on my route up to Boeing Field. And I got a good idea of what the forecaster was, why they're predicting the weather they're predicting. So drilling down a little bit more than just getting the big picture. Okay, and here's his text down below. Once you touch that part of the map, this pops up down below. You can read through that. It's not typically very long. It's not 23 pages. It's a little text of this is what we think. You know, there's a cold front coming in, and it's going to affect these airports, and here's what it's going to do. And it's just them speaking to you, basically, about what they're forecasting. Okay, so going back to a bunch of apps that we have chosen to put up here. And again, those of you that use the apps, you know you can put on your overlay functions. And some do better than others on their overlays. So I would recommend you try different ones, see which ones you like. I believe everybody offers a free trial for a period. Go to those apps and say, okay, I like the way that Garmin Pilot does their radar better than ForeFlight or whatever. So you can get the best graphical briefing you can. How many of you have heard of an app called Takeoff HD? Yes. So this is cool. So now I'm getting ready to head up to Boeing Field, and I want to see what the weather's going to be doing to me along the way. So Takeoff HD, what's really nice about it, you can go in to your settings up here, and you can tell it, and what I believe I did on this one, I said, I want to know if the weather is less than 3,000 feet, less than 5 miles visibility, and the winds are greater than 20 knots, all on the circle, along the way. Okay? So you tell it what you want it to display. So you see we have a problem here and here. So I just touched that on the map, and now I can drill down more. It's showing me right here, I got a 2,000-foot ceiling, and I got a temperature dew point that's really close right here. So I go from there, and I touch that, and now I get a whole bunch of stuff here. Right now we're looking at the METAR, and we can come over here. I'll get that on the next slide, but I wanted to cover this little guy. See this little clock-looking thing right there? If you touch that, you can look out about 7 or 8 hours into the future. And what it's doing is it's taking the METARs and the TAFs, and it's predicting what the TAF is going to be like at that airport along the way, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours from now. So what's nice about that is you can say, well, that doesn't look good to go right at the moment, but maybe if I wait 3 hours, everything clears up and I'm good. So it's a pretty neat little app that they have, Takeoff HD. Hopefully I'm going to get time to show you some of that too. Okay, so the other thing I like, how many people have trouble doing the math? Is it +7 or -7 to get the Z time back to local time? It's like, 0.3, what is that? So, this gives it to you in local time. Imagine that, helping us pilots out, right? We got local time for the terminal forecast here. It's pretty all-inclusive. You got the NOTAMs, you got PIREPs, you got AirNet segments. You can do radar over here. You can look at a map. I didn't do here, but I'll show you that hopefully when we get a moment. you can actually go out to other websites. They got links in there where you can touch and look at, I'm trying to remember what it's called, where they take you. Has anybody seen the bar graph along the bottom that shows the temperature? I'll go there later. I can't remember the name of the app. But it takes you right to it, so you don't have to go anywhere else. And it shows you the chance of precip, how cloudy it's going to be, different things are showing up there. Okay, so we're going to try to cover. Okay, we're going to try to cover these here before we close out today. I'm going to go over those two apps since nobody's seen them before, because I really love them. They're really good. So we're going to take a quick break again. I want you to socialize. If anybody wants to come up